What do you go by? You like Joe, Joseph?
It doesn't matter to me. Everybody calls me a different thing. I've been married 3 times, so God knows I've heard pretty much everything at this point, so, as far as names. But
Yeah, no, like I can relate. My I guess I could say my first marriage now dissolved almost 2 years ago.
yeah, it's I think you're better off being committed to an insane asylum. To tell you the truth,
It depends,
it
but
does.
it was definitely it was definitely an experience, like it's to say the
Yeah, I've
least.
had 3 of them so far. So it's I was the music business. I spent 25 years in the music industry. So my first 2 wives were kind of victims of the music business because I was never around. I was always on the road, with either like Alice in Chains or Pearl Jam or this one or that, so it's not very conducive to being married, nor is this business, to tell you the truth, especially if you work a lot. I work a lot, so I'm not really home very much, but that is what it is, And I have one kid that I know of. Well, and he lives here, so no, he's a good kid actually. Guy's going to be 22 this year. I don't even know where that went, but yeah. So what's doing?
2 years. Well, I'm really taken aback by your background. Like, did
Thank
you
you.
meet bands, or are you just a
Oh
collector?
yeah, no, I met. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm still here to talk about it because I partied with everybody from Ozzy to Cypress Hill to Mariah. You go down the list. I met everybody: the Stones, Pink Floyd. I've been around all of them. I was with Pearl Jam before anyone knew who they were. So
Really, Smoke on the
yeah,
Water?
yeah. But we had a lot of good times together. We really did. I mean, it was a great experience. I've been very lucky, and I'm actually lucky enough to act now, which is I was never an office kind of guy. Just never sat well with me. I can't sit behind a desk. It's not my thing, you
Sure.
know. And then I actually, when I left the record business, I ended up doing some stand up. I was doing comedy for a while, and
Okay.
then I stopped. It was I was kind of in the middle of. I was with my well, she wasn't my wife yet, but we were moving in together, and there's no money in stand up when you first start. I mean, you're basically just going out there. So I kind of had to put things on pause and go to work. And then I was completely miserable. So I decided I'm going to go back and give it a shot. And my wife gave me her blessing, said go for it. My son was like, go for it. So I did. And next thing you know, I'm auditioning for a film, and I got it. And it was right before the pandemic.
Yep.
And yeah, so it was this thing called Justice Soldier of God. It was a really, really cool story. And she was about to get all this distribution and everything. And the pandemic hit and everything got wiped out. I actually did 2 films. I did something else called Outwitting the Devil, where I played a detective. And same thing, these guys flew in from England, and we filmed in Manhattan. It was great. I was like, this is going to be outstanding. And, shut everything down, and it was over. And then I end up going back, and the first thing I end up doing is Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And, and that kind of launched me again. And, I've done a bunch of roles. I did this really great movie called The Ruggieros. It was a comedy. And we filmed in Pennsylvania, and the director was kind of he was kind of trying to do something based upon his family who were completely nuts. And it actually won, I think it won like best movie or best new director at the Malibu International Film Festival. And that was last year. So, and I actually met my well, she was the star. The girl that was in this she was Pepper in the movie Annie. So we kind of
The original Little Pepper?
yeah.
Oh,
And we got together, and I kind of didn't tell her that I was married, and my marriage was falling apart at the time, and I really was into it, so I couldn't tell her because I was afraid I was going to lose it. And it was a big fucking mistake. Pardon my French, but it was a big mistake because I'm at her house for like Memorial Day weekend, and I'm in the backyard with the whole family. And all of a sudden her brother-in-law is like, your wife's outside. I was like, what?
oh
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. And I was actually in the process of moving out of my house. I grabbed an apartment in Bayside. So everything was over, and my wife came along and just kind of, blew the whole thing up.
I guess in
And
that case, that's when you don't want the sun to come out tomorrow.
oh my God, it was right, exactly.
Oh
But
my gosh.
it was pretty heartbreaking to say the least. But you know, my son said it best. He was like, "Listen, mom came and fought for you." Said, "So you got to give her credit." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. You know what? You're right. You're right." But it was definitely an experience I don't want to live through ever again. But you know, I feel bad because I didn't want to hurt anybody, and you know, I fucked up. Basically, that's what it was. I should have told her, and I didn't. But I thought I was going to be able to kind of just split everything up, and you know, I would tell her later on or something. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Tell you the truth, I just don't know. But it was yeah, that was a nightmare. I'm so glad I'm telling you this so they can. Where's this being broadcast? Just,
The world.
yeah, good. There you go. Well, terrific. Thank you, world. So you know, I'm sure I'll be waiting for the hate emails. But yeah, it was a horrible thing, and yeah, but the movie was, the trailer was great. The film was good. I think it's going to be on Amazon actually soon. I've done a lot of movies, a lot of independent films, and honestly, you know, I like it better because I don't have any desire to join SAG until they force me to, because. Sure. Then you're limited on work. You know what I mean? You can't do. There's been so many. I've done so many great projects. There were all these independent films, and I enjoyed every single. I had a blast. Matter of fact, this weekend I'm going to Lake George. I'm filming a movie. My brother. I'm filming a movie. It's called The Long Desire or The Lost Desire, I believe. Sorry, and it's a horror movie. So I'm actually playing this cult guy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to be up in Lake George Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's upstate New York?
Yeah, it's way up. It's like a 5-hour drive for me from here.
Oh.
But yeah, but you know what? I don't care. You know, I look at it this way. You know, if you're in this for the money, if that's your main goal, then you're foolish. If you're not doing this for the love of it, then you should be doing something else. You know, money comes and goes. That's the reality of it. You know, I've made money in the music business. I've lost money. I've been married 3 times. So believe me, I lost a lot of money. And, you know, you can't look at it. Money is bullshit. It really doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't at the end of the day. You know, it'll come. It comes to you eventually, you know, but you got to focus on what you love, because if you don't do what you love, you're in misery. You'll be miserable the rest of your life. I have so many friends and stuff that are just, you know, I'm like, God, you know, as far as you're not dead yet, because you're so friggin' miserable from, you know, just doing a shitty job. And, you know, there's very few people that go and just really do what they love. And I think that's extremely important. It is, you know, I mean, it's just, it has to be. And it's just the way, I think that's the way life should be. And I don't buy into the whole thing about, you know, like, especially with acting, like, oh, well, you know, actors, it's impossible to make it. Well, define make it. What does that mean? You know what I mean? It's really a bullshit term at the end of the day, because you make what you want out of it. That's really the truth of the matter. And you know, I'm up every day at 5 a.m. I'm online, cruising through Backstage and, you know, Actors Access and this and submitting, you know, and that's how I work. You know, I've been extremely lucky. I really have. I get up, I thank the universe every day for being able to do this for a living. I really do. You know, it's been quite a ride so far, you know, and even the background work. I'm telling you, I like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel was one of the best times I ever had. You know, those period pieces like that are just phenomenal. I mean, the clothing and, you know, and they had budgets. So, you know, you really get to see a lot of incredible stuff. And, you know, the actors were really nice. And I was on the show enough that, you know, everybody kind of got to know me a little bit. So it was kind of neat. But yeah, it's a hell of a business, that's for sure. But it's you know, I really want to do theater next. That's really something.
Oh, you haven't done that yet?
I have not. As a matter of fact, I just got a role in this off Broadway thing. So
good.
The guy's flying up from Florida in May. So we're going to sit down and I play. Well, it's actually it's a play about these Jewish people that buy some kind of club in the Catskills, and they come to me for money because I'm a mob guy, and they're not paying me, but I know the guy for years, so I don't want to kill him, but I got to collect my money. So that's really where the comedy starts, and it's pretty interesting, I have to say the least. So yeah, I got a lot of things. I got a lot of things in the can, so I'm pretty. I've been pretty lucky, like I said. There's some things that would change in my life, but what was that?
Oh, where are you going to be performing? What's the name of the show?
I don't know yet. I don't know where it's going to be because I literally just got the script. He's not coming up until the end of May. So,
Okay.
once he gets a club, I'll know. But apparently, he's done about 6 or 7 off Broadway plays before, and he's had pretty good success with them. And you know, but it's
Oh, you got to let us know. I'm sure this
yeah, no, I
podcast.
definitely will. I'll let you know without a doubt. I'm really looking forward to it because to me, acting's great, but it's not that it's simple because it's not. But
No.
it's not life changing. We're just actors. It's just a job at the end of the day. But the
Yeah.
reality is, getting in front of a live audience is a whole different ballgame than standing in front of a camera and doing take after take and do it again and this that. Not the same. You gotta have
Yeah.
your chops and you gotta pull it off. So,
Got
that's
to be
really
a
where it's at.
player.
Yeah, you got to be ready to rock and roll. So, but yeah, that's what's going on for the most part.
Well, how old were you when you started, your love for music?
Oh, well, that I started when I was about 5. I had an older brother that was 20 years older than me. He passed
Oh,
away.
wow.
Passed away when I was 16 from
I'm sorry.
cancer. But he was in the music business, so he got me into music from the time I was like 5 years old. So then I was going, and I have another brother that's still alive he's a financial guy, and so I was going to college for accounting to cover the finance thing, and my older brother he had already passed away, but I always had this love for music. And one of my first jobs ever was at a record store, this company called Record World. They had probably 100 stores on the East Coast of the United States. And I end up at my first job, I'm working in the store. I get promoted to the main offices. And then the guy that runs the office is like, "Oh my God, you're John's brother?" He's like, don't you remember you used to come to my warehouse? So my brother used to take me to his warehouse. He used to get free records all the time.
Oh,
So
wow.
all through my music career, my brother, it was always somebody that knew my brother was like, okay, boom. So I kind of climbed the ladder, and then, they had a big Black Friday. The music business was falling apart as it was anyway. And I got out of there, I ended up leaving and then kind of standing around like, what the hell am I going to do now? And somebody's like, you should do comedy. And I was like, okay, and I actually, I was doing a writing class with this guy, Steven Rosenfeld, who actually, I believe, wrote for Seinfeld, if I'm not mistaken.
I know the name.
Yeah, I mean, and let me tell you, the most amazing guy, phenomenal guy. And he got me up on stage, and next thing I knew, I was kicking it pretty good, but that whole thing was temporary, it's too bad, but listen, things work out the way they're supposed to. You know what I mean? I really thought I was just going to be a stand-up comedian and do that thing because, like, for me, George Carlin was my hero. And actually, you want to hear a funny story? I got to meet George Carlin when I was in the music business because my friend used to run a theater, and George used to play at Westbury Music Fair in Long Island. He used to play there every year. So my friend's like, "Listen, I'll get you backstage." I'm like, "Okay." Now I know Carlin is a huge jazz fan, jazz records. So I get a ton of jazz records from my offices. I bring him, I meet him backstage. Nice to meet you. Nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. And I said, "Listen, give me your agent's number and your agent's address, and I'll send him records for you." He's like, "Fuck my agent. Here's my home number and here's my home address." And I'm sitting there like, holy shit, you got to be kidding. I've been listening to this guy since I'm like 8, and I'm like, I'm standing in front of this guy. And sure enough, I sent him a bunch of records, and fucking guy would call me up. "Hey, Joe, got the fucking albums. Thank you so much." I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was, and I did that for a long time. And he was, to me, it's hard to say the best ever, but, because you have Don Rickles, you have Richard Pryor, I mean, Eddie Murphy. I mean, you have so many, but if I had to pick like the guy, I would have to say George, because just his play with words was just unbelievable. I mean, like, what the guy did was, phenomenal. But
Sure.
yeah, so but that, that's pretty much the story. And actually, tomorrow I'm supposed to do some background work on Law and Order. I'm still waiting to hear back from them, but I did Law and Order, I guess last summer, and got to meet Ice-T. He was the nicest guy in the world. And then we were laughing because obviously he was a rapper. So we used to be at the same parties when we kind of figured out, oh my God, we're at the same parties in New York, and but he was a terrific guy. Law and Order was great. SVU was a lot of fun to work on. But, I don't not recommend background work because, again, for me, it's better than sitting at home on your ass doing nothing.
Yeah,
I'd rather work as long as you're around the camera and a set. You can always learn. There's a lot of stuff to learn. So,
of course. I mean, like, you just you don't really know my background and my story, but there was a time I survived on background work because I couldn't do anything else,
right.
Like I said, like before we started the podcast, like I literally would crave getting on set mostly because I'm going to learn. I get to fly with the exterior elements to a make-believe character that, I could just pretend for a moment and get some exercise, but get a free lunch because I was
right.
I was getting pulled through the mud in the early days.
Yeah, and that's listen. At the end of the day, there's a lot to be said for that because you have to start at the bottom. You know what I mean? To really appreciate what you do, especially now. You know what it's like to do background work. And listen, I've done some sucky jobs. You know what I mean? Where I wanted to like hang myself because they were shitty. But again, you do it because you want to learn, and you always learn something. You always learn something on set. So, and you meet people. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's a big part of this business, especially in New York.
Well, how long do you think you maybe left comedy and just started being more of an actor?
Well, like I told you, I had stopped. I had gone back to corporate. So
yeah,
the pandemic started when in 2019, whatever the hell it was, and I literally
March 2020.
2020, right? So I literally had just done. Yeah, I was back in corporate for quite a few years, and I went and said, all right, I'm gonna go back on stage. And I took a class with, can't even remember the name, Weist Barron. So we did a show. I did a comedy show there. My son came to see me and he was like, Dad, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, why? Did I suck? And he's like, no, you're great. You got to go do this. So it kind of revved me up again. And I happened to audition for this thing called Justice Soldier of God, but I was playing a murderer. And the girl was like, she's like, I know you're a comedian. How are you going to be a murderer? So, and it was great because that's like when you start doing things over the cell phone. And I auditioned right on my phone. She's like, oh my God, you got it. So and we ended up filming in Sparta, New Jersey, which is absolutely
wonderful. Yeah.
Holy shit, what a great town.
Yeah, my cousins live there.
Yeah, I mean, a beautiful town. And I like to fish. So, you have all those lakes and streams. I mean, I was like, wow, this place is phenomenal. And we put the whole trailer together and then, the pandemic hit and that was the end of that. But it was a shame because it was a great concept. And we really had a good time doing it. And then right after that, I did this thing called Outwitting the Devil. And that got put on hold too because of the pandemic. And then I was like, when everything opened up again, I did Maisel for the first time. And I was like, you know what? I got to jump back in. I don't care. I'll do background work. It doesn't really matter to me. And then, thankfully, the one good thing about the pandemic was that you didn't have to go, auditions used to be, you got to show up, you got to travel into the city. Now I can do 6 auditions in a day because you just get everything on your phone. So it changes the whole game because now I can audition constantly. That's all I usually do. I'm always auditioning for something or I'm working the next day so I always have things in the till rolling around, So it works out great. As a matter of fact, I have an audition for something after we're done. So a mob guy, because I don't look like a mob guy or anything. But it actually worked on. Speaking of mob guys, I worked on the Sopranos movie. Newark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was like right after everything opened too, and I did some background work on that, and I got to hang out with James Gandolfini's kid, and let me tell you, nicest guy you would ever want to meet. I mean, not full of himself, and he reminded me of his father like tremendously. And, and we kind of connected because like, I never knew my father. Actually, he died when I was like 6 months old. And then my stepdad died when I was 12. So, I've seen a lot of death in my family and in my life. So I have a very different perspective on life. You know what I mean? It's, you never know what's going to happen. There's an old saying, Chinese saying, actually, today's a gift, tomorrow's a present. So, actually, it's the other way around. For all you dyslexic people out there, today's a present, tomorrow's a gift. That's what the
I think it was like yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one too. But yeah, I just I've seen a lot of crazy shit. So that's why I'm completely out of my mind, and I try to stay focused on trying to do the right thing. And, occasionally stupidity does set in, once in a while. But I just try to be nice to everyone. I think that's the most important thing. And also on set, you got to be early. To me, it's important. Because they lose their minds if you're late. I've seen people late, and it's like, what's the point? And then they don't use you. So, well, they don't call you back again. But I've always been a stickler for being on time for things. So it works out well in this industry. But yeah, so that's the story of my life in a nutshell. It's a great way to start off. Hi, Roseanne, if you hear this, I'm sorry. Yeah, dude, it was really, really bad. And I hate to laugh because it's really not funny. I mean, and she won't even speak to me ever. Like, it's a fucking shit show. It really is. Absolute shit show. But
well, not to bring back up Annie, but actually a good friend of mine actually was in the circus scene in the last act of the movie.
Oh, wow. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, one of my best friends was a sculptor, and he passed away recently. He was 80 years old, but he was like the best friend and neighbor you could ever ask for. Learned a lot from him. But his older sister, her name is Rosie Novelino, and she was a Rockette, captain of the Rockettes throughout. Yeah. She comes from a very long line of. Or she comes from a family of artists, more or less,
Right.
Like her mother was heavy in the arts, and her father was a colonel in the U.S. Army.
Wow.
So they were kind of like more or less established, but man, did they struggle as artists, But she worked her ass off, became the captain of the Rockettes, and I was actually going through some old footage not too long ago, and I came across like an old interview that she and I just kind of did for fundraiser, because we were raising money for Broadway during the pandemic.
Right.
And we wanted to try to help out actors as best we could. So we did an online show, and she was one of the interviews of theater on what it actually is, what it means. And it turns out she led the charge. It was the rumor, but not the real story. But she led the charge on the she actually led the charge in preventing Radio City Music Hall from being demolished by the Rockefellers during the 70s.
It's amazing that you would even think that somebody would consider doing that. And it's just so bizarre.
She stopped them. She led the pack.
She should be saying there should be a statue in front of that place.
Honestly, and it was such a heartbreaking, wonderful accomplishment where it kind of solidified with her getting blacklisted for doing that.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes,
that's just incredible. Well, no good deed goes unpunished, as they say, right?
I guess she doesn't regret a damn thing about it. She loves that space, and to this day, today it hosts the Tony Awards every year. So
yeah, right. It's a wonderful venue. I mean, I can't even tell you how many shows I've seen there. Being in the music business, I've seen probably 300 shows there. I mean, forget it. I was at a concert every single night. So, dynamite venue.
Did you ever get to perform there?
No. But I got to hang out with a lot of bands there.
Like who?
Oh God, let's see. The Allman Brothers.
Did you really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Allman Brothers were great. Let me tell you, those guys.
Oh, my mom loves them.
Nicest guys you ever want to meet. And it's funny, when we first signed the Allman Brothers, I had just started at Sony, and I'm talking to the guy that's the promo guy for the label, and I'm like, I want to see the Allmans. And I'm like, can I get backstage? He's like, yeah, sure. He's like, but listen, he's like, they can be a little bit rough, So I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm a huge fan. So, and that was the thing for me. Most of the guys I worked with in the business, they didn't really care. It was about blowing smoke up the artist's ass, quite frankly. And it really annoyed me. And for me, I was, I grew up listening to these guys. I was fans of all of them. So I was managed to, because I was a fan, I could talk to them about any one of their albums and this song and that song. So I always got on with everybody, and the Allman Brothers especially. I mean, Dickie Betts was, they were like, Dickie's crazy. Nicest guy you ever wanted to meet. I mean, him and I hung out so many times. I mean, it was incredible. But it was the Allmans were great. I really had a good time with them, But just that business alone at that time when I was in it was, it was really the peak of the industry. I mean, I never paid for a ticket for anything, free music, I mean, parties all the time. I mean, I was at a party every single night, just about. So it was fun. Now I'm older, so I've settled down a little bit. A little bit, but in this business, I mean, this business isn't really crazy, but it's crazy. Everybody, listen, you have to be crazy to be in this business in the first place. You got to have a little bit of a screw loose.
Something's got to be off, or else why keep doing it?
Yeah, right. But it's all good. There's never a day I get up and I'm like, oh God, I got to do this today. I'm always ready to roll because shit, man, it beats. I've worked in delis and I was trying to get things going in Italian delis, and let me tell you, those jobs are way harder than what we do. It's not even a question. You know what I mean? You're busting your ass in that place. I mean, listen, we put long hours in doing what we do, but not like that. You know what I mean? What we do is really, we're lucky. We're very, very fortunate to be able to be in this business and make a living. I'm not looking to be a multi-billionaire. I mean, listen, if that happened, I wouldn't complain. But at the end of the day, that's not my goal. You know what I mean? My goal is to work, and I've only been doing this now. Well, we had 2 years of everything being shut down, so really, it's been about maybe 2 years, I guess, that I've been doing this. So close, maybe, probably around 2 years. And I have really pretty good reel. I've worked a lot, and speaking roles. So, but it's all indie films. But so what? I don't care. To me, it's great.
I mean, get the repetition in.
Yeah, exactly. And believe me, you meet so many great people. So to me, it's always cool. Because you never know what's going to happen. It's like every time it's an adventure. Anytime you go on a project, it's always an adventure. And so far my adventures have been really, really good. So I really
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
But did you ever get a chance to really play music with any of these guys? And maybe
no, the only thing I ever did was I did a sound check with Iron Maiden, playing
Iron
drums.
Maiden.
Yeah, playing drums.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, because I play drums, I play guitar, and I was talking to the drummer from Maiden, this guy Nico, and he was like, "Yeah, you should come do a sound check with us." It was at the Meadowlands, I think, at the time, and so I did a sound check. But other than that, no, I never really, I never got to really play with anybody. I hung out with Cheap Trick. I was actually with Rick Nielsen, another great band. I mean, nicest guys in the world. I spent the whole night hanging out with him in his hotel room, and he pulled out all his guitars, and we were hanging out and bullshitting, and about the Beatles. I mean, because they were huge Beatle fans, and really, who isn't? But I've got stories. And it's funny, my friends are always like, "Man, you got to write a book," and I'm like, I'd rather keep the memories to myself. Or share them with my friends. I don't need that kind of publicity. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It was it's another lifetime. It's kind of funny because I never thought I would, after all the death I saw in my family, I never thought I'd live to 40, and then here I am, and I'm like, okay, I have my son's going to be 22. I mean, I can't even believe they let me reproduce. It's amazing. I'm shocked. I get up every day and I'm like, shit, you were the best swimmer, but he was. He was like the Mark Spitz of sperm. But he's a good kid, man. He's a really good kid. Life is pretty easy, man. You just got to be respectful. You say God bless you and thank you, and you hold the door for people, and people make it out to be so much more than it needs to be. If everybody's nice to each other, there's no bullshit. That's all it is.
I hear you. Well, your son, he's 22. I mean, is he wrapping up college now?
Well, when he left, he started going. Then the pandemic hit, and the teachers weren't showing up to the online classes.
Oh, come on.
And he was a straight A student, meanwhile. And so he lost his total enjoyment for it. And I said, listen, what do you want to do? So he's been building computers all through the plan. The guy that was his thing. And I'm like, whoa. No, and I was always good at electronics, but this guy's like out of his mind. So I'm like, why don't you go to school for computers? So he's just starting, as a matter of fact, May. He starts, and it's like a year long, and then they pretty much can place you. He'll be licensed all over the country, so he can go anywhere he wants, and he can work for anybody he wants because he's going to learn IT. He's going to learn everything from building it to. But he already knows. Like, we met with the school, and they were like, "Wow, this guy really knows his stuff." And I'm like, "He does," and he's just a really good kid. He really is very respectful, except to me. No, but it's
Well,
okay.
I mean,
No, but it's all right. We know it's in a loving way. You know what I mean? He's not like that at all, which is cool because I'd kick his ass if he was. But
what about like any artistic elements? Does he like?
it's funny. He actually, yeah, he played Captain Hook and Peter Pan in high school.
Oh, good for him. All right.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's the funniest story because I guess it wasn't even high school. I think it might have been like eighth or ninth grade. And he's playing Captain Hook, and he's supposed to poison Peter Pan, but he has these frilly sleeves on. So he goes to put the potion thing together and knocks it clear off the stage, right? So the audience goes silent. He looks up in the audience. He goes, "Whoops!" And the whole place bust out laughing. I mean, it was one of the funniest moments ever. But he was, I thought he was really going to start doing it. He's a good-looking kid, but it just, I don't know, because he's seen me start from, the beginning, and I think he wanted a little bit of an easier path, that is something more stable, because this business, it takes a while to build it where you have some stability. You know what I mean? Where you're working 3-4 days a week. It takes time. I mean, and there were times where I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, how am I going to make this? You know what I mean? But you got to stick with it. It's the only way. So many people quit. Because they're frustrated, and I get it, but you got to stick with it. It's the only way, but you got to stick with it for the right reasons. That's really what it comes down to. There's no other way to explain it.
Well, you said it yourself, you got to enjoy what you do.
Yeah, you do. I mean, if you don't love, and that's the thing, my son, I always told him, like, you got to love what you do. And he loves computers. So to me, it was a no brainer. I mean, it's like, every time I turn around, he's doing this to the computer, he's updating this. And I'm like, how the hell did you learn how to do this? I mean, you have YouTube and stuff, but you have to have that innate ability to deal with electronics. Like I had a band in high school, so I used to build like all the stuff, and I used to build amplifiers and stuff like that, but not to this extent, what he's doing, but, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree somewhat, I guess, but yeah, it's all right. Life's okay.
I mean, he's only 22. Like he's got
a long way to go. You know what I mean? So
in another 18 years, he's probably going to be an expert at one thing when he.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. No, listen.
Things,
the IT stuff's always going to be around. That's the fact of the matter. So you're never going to worry about work. So, and who knows? I mean, I thought I was going to be in the music business my entire life until I retired, and that didn't happen. Just I'm completely somewhere else now, and that's okay. Life is it's a journey. It's not a destination. You know what I mean?
Oh, check it out. Right there.
Oh no, that was not planned. By the way, we just met today.
I can't believe that.
But it's true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest lines ever because so many people are caught up in that, and it's like no, you can't make. Listen, you can make plans, but plans are bullshit. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. You could be here today, gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? You hope it's not you hope that doesn't happen, but you don't know. You really don't know. So, you might as well enjoy fucking up and doing the right thing and screwing up and this and that because that's what makes life. You know what I mean?
We got to learn from it, like.
Absolutely. And, I could do it a little bit of dullness these days because it's been a hell of a ride so far, but and not in a bad way. I'm not complaining. I'm really not. But a couple of regrets here and there. But
it doesn't seem like a roller coaster. It seems more like a theme park.
Oh my God, yeah, it's a theme park. You got that right. It seems to be expanding by the month. But yeah. So other than that, everything's okay. Did your family make out all right through the pandemic and stuff?
Welcome to Happy Corner. This project strives to make safe housing areas for stray cats at an affordable price. It's so easy to put together that even your children could have fun making one. Help keep cats and other animals safe with their own little Happy Corner homes. You can help this project become a reality by donating to the GoFundMe page. Happy Corner homes are a great way to show those animals in need it's okay to be happy.
Not for. I mean, that was sort of for me. Like, how like everything has when something ends, it's actually the start of something new.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it seemed like it was. It didn't seem like there was a chapter in my life that was closing. It seems like that book was being finished.
Right.
And real talk, I got so depressed during the apex of the whole thing that lasted weeks, months, and part of most of the years.
Yeah, I mean,
like it was, and I definitely got lost, because it's like, what's it all for? Where do I find joy? What do I like to do? And how important really is that? And I'm sure, like, maybe, as like, as a man, you got to kind of sacrifice the things you want to do really to provide for your family. And I felt that. And I think like my uncle died of cancer during the pandemic. My dog died during the pandemic. It was almost like, it's a little funny to laugh at now, because my brother recommended a movie I watched, and I think it was Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, I think.
Oh, sure.
But it was it was a Will Ferrell movie with
Wait, is it Everything Must Go?
I don't think that was it. I think it's Truth is Stranger Than Fiction.
That was a fantastic film too. Both of them.
Will Ferrell played like I think it was an IRS auditor, and oh wait, no, I'm thinking of two different movies. Oh no, it's the same movie. It's with Jake Gyllenhaal. Because it's a parallel story where I think it's not Emma Watson, it's one of the actresses, Emma. Somebody comment and like let me know. But Will Ferrell was an IRS auditor, and he was auditing a bakery by Jackie Gyllenhaal, and basically her taxes were a little bit off.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember this.
I think Dustin Hoffman was also in the movie.
Yes.
I really hope I'm not
the psychologist or something. And doesn't Will Ferrell get the guitar, and he goes to the guitar store or something too?
Something like that. So basically, meanwhile, Emma is writing a book which kind of parallels his life, but at the end of every book she writes
Stranger Than Fiction.
That's
what it's called.
Okay, that was it. But when I watched the movie, and then I watched it like 3 or 4 times just to kind of let it sit in, because I actually had to write down and journal, is my life a comedy or is it a tragedy? And like, at that time, it just seemed more tragic than comedy.
Of course.
By far, And it kind of got me out of like the rut and put things a little bit more into perspective. And Will Ferrell will do that in a lot of his movies. He'll get you in a better mood.
Yes,
Will Ferrell, no doubt.
He's one of my all-time favorites. I mean, the guy.
But I guess like the pandemic, for the most part, I found a couple of blessings in it.
I did
too. Not for nothing, like the one guy was a POS, but one of the founding members of the Astoria Filmmakers Club was a professional con artist, and if I didn't know. If I didn't know like all the money that came through the AFC thus far in the last 3 years, he would have just stole.
Holy shit.
But the guy couldn't even help himself. It was like the first $200 here, $300 there, like for things that that's just like, oh wait, time out. And then he opens up a bank without my permission. I'm like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, during that pandemic, when we're not really production ready, we don't even have the podcast on its feet yet.
Sure.
People actually contact me, because now like I'm like, my face is a part of the AFC and this guy's involved. People contact me and warn me about this dude, and it turns out every story that they were telling me was nuts, but it was all 100% true. So like it just kind of led to the point between getting kind of conned, losing my job, losing my family, my business. I had no problem dissolving the AFC at the time, because I thought maybe I just started it too soon, or I'm not the right guy to do it. Like the idea is bigger and better than me. I shouldn't be involved. It deserves better. And that timing was horrible, because it put me in such a depression, because when I felt like I lost all of this, it basically meant that the last 12, 13 years of my life were for nothing.
Right.
And
exactly.
Dude, I was ready to throw in the towel. Like, you know what? I don't want, like, I know life isn't easy, but a lot of people make deliberate decisions that sabotage yours. I don't want to be involved with people. I don't want to be involved with the world like that. So why bother?
Yeah.
So like, fortunately, things have gotten so much better, especially after this year, when the Triborough Film Festival was a success. The podcast is back on its feet. There's money coming to us. Like you said, it is all bullshit, but you need to actually produce a good show. But we got some really good things on the table that are going to be coming out this summer, and I'm actually
that's great.
I'm truly excited for what's coming up.
Yeah, it's funny because I look at the pandemic more of like a giant exorcism, more or less. You know what I mean? Because it really was. Because I mean, I spent, man, we hung out drinking, and it's so funny. I didn't buy any of the bullshit. I mean, my friends came over every weekend. We hung out in the backyard. We barbecued. We partied. I was like, this is all nonsense. There's no fucking.
Everybody's off from work. You might as well,
Right. I was like, you know what? Let's hang, man. Fuck it. But yeah, it was kind of a big exorcism, because like I said, I did those 2 films, and I was like, wow, okay, these things are going to go somewhere. And gee, and then it was like, boom. And I was like, wow, I can't fucking believe this, and then it shut down for 2 years. And I'm like, okay, I got to start, doing background work. So, okay, that's what I got to do, but like I said, it's about perseverance without a doubt. And a lot of self-evaluation. I mean, especially in my relationships, it's,
sure.
That was the toughest one. It really was. It's, think about it every day. It really kind of, there's a lot to think about, but you have to push forward. That's all you can do. And you hope for the best, and because you really can't control anything other than your actions. That's really what it comes down to,
I know. And that's rough.
And when you have to give, you have to give your auditions your best, because if you do it half-assed, you're going to get half-assed results. That's really what it comes down to, So it's very important. Like, to me, auditioning is obviously the key. You want that role, you better have your shit together. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, listen, you could have a fantastic audition, but they're not they're not looking for you. So, to me, I equate all of this to fishing. Eventually you're going to catch something. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. And, sometimes you get on a roll, and, like the holidays, my God, the holidays were horrible. I mean, I was hardly working because, just around that time between like November and December, things start to shut down. You know what I mean? And it's like, Jesus Christ, you got to be kidding. I'm used to having, got to pay the bills. You know what I mean? So it was not easy. It wasn't easy, but then the new year came along, and boom, things picked up. And, now as we're getting into April, and, now things really take off like they do every summer. So, but I got a lot of stuff in the can, so I'm pretty happy as far as opportunities, and but it's a hell of a business, and I love it. I really, really do. It's it brought back the sparkle in my eye. That's what it did, because when you do something that you really love, like the music business, I loved. I mean, to me, it was like, forget it, man. It's like being a kid in a candy store, and this is the same thing. I mean, it's a little bit different because, I haven't done any major roles with like a major or, like a major actor yet, but that'll come, I'm sure, at some point, you know what I mean? But, I got spoiled being in the music business, hanging out with all these rock stars, but hey, it was great. I can't complain. I really can't. And, to be able to reinvent yourself is really the key. And again, it's that, and then just persevering, I mean, it's, some days it's not easy, you know how it rolls. It's, and actually, I got a great story for you. So I get an email the other day from this guy. His name is James Potter Photography. So he says, we found your profile. We like your look. We're doing this photo session, and pays $1,500. I need to know what days you're available in April. So I give him my list of days. And he says, okay, we're going to send you a check for $2,600. You're going to deposit it in your bank.
No, don't do that.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I went to school for finance, so I'm laughing my ass off because soon, if the check was for $1,500 that he said he was paying me, I was going to still say, like, you're going to pay me for this job before we even do it, So I happened to be at the bank, and I'm talking to the bank manager because I know him pretty well, and he had to tell him the story. He's like, it's unbelievable, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, it amazes me how, like, really, you're going to try to pull this shit? I mean, blows my mind. But, that stuff goes on, unfortunately.
He got away with it.
I'm sure he probably has. He probably has. But, Yeah, that was my last thing. And it's funny because when you first get the emails for things, you get excited because like, holy shit, I got this thing. And then I started reading it, and then he sends me a copy of the check via email, and I'm like,
What?
I've gotten, yeah, no bullshit, front and back of the check. I've gotten paid hundreds of times. I've never gotten a check emailed. It's never. It's either direct deposit or Venmo or a hard check. And I'm like, all right, this guy's got to be kidding. So I email him. I'm like, dude, nice try. I said, what do you think? I'm fucking stupid? And he's like, oh no, it's an online check. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I said, yeah, it's an online check. And
it's a check on the line. Oh.
It's just, in the words of Red Foreman, my foot was shaking so much I wanted to stick it in his ass. I mean, just like, forget it.
Yeah,
gotta be kidding. And I feel bad for the actors that don't know, or they get so caught up in it that they go and deposit this fucking check. Well, not in the bank, but you take a picture of it. You can do it right on your phone now. So, and then you're screwed. But really, I haven't dealt with that much. I think this once before it happened early on, and I caught it. But it's like life. Some kind of shit always happens. That's what it is. But what are you gonna do? You just got to be aware. That's really, and I learned to go with my gut, man. Because my gut right away was like, this ain't right. It's just something wrong, and I was right. I knew it was. But you live and you learn. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. So, yeah.
I mean, I guess my curiosity, no, because like I've experienced these guys too in my earlier days where
crazy.
It's going through like a shoe brand, or you gotta like, we're gonna provide you with some money, but just buy your own clothes from things like that. Meanwhile, the check is no good, and then your money's being drained, and you're not getting paid. Like little things like that.
Yeah,
And then they never send you the equipment or something like that.
Of course.
I stopped myself cold saying it didn't feel right. Nah, I'm not doing it. But did you ever have somebody that that just really left an impression on you that you want to work with as an actor?
What do you mean, as far as the projects I've done in the past?
Well, just like maybe an actor who's around that you may not have met yet, but if you did, like, to go back to what you said before, like you haven't really worked with a famous movie star.
Well, I was actually on Succession. I did some background work on Succession this past season, and I got to meet Alan Ruck.
Oh, you did? All right.
Yeah. So, and it was funny because I don't watch the show, so we're shooting this scene, and it's in a church in Manhattan, and I always get lucky. I always manage to get stuck right in the good part of the scene. So I've always been very lucky that way doing background work. That's one of the other reasons why it doesn't bother me too much. But so I'm standing there with this woman, and I hear, "Hey, how you doing? Happy New Year!" And I turn around, it's Alan Ruck, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, I can't believe it's you, And everybody's like, "Oh, you don't watch the show?" I'm like, "No, I don't watch the show. I had luck to have time to watch any TV." But he was really, really nice, and what the hell's the other guy's name? There's another guy he was the husband in 6 Feet Under. I don't know if you remember that show. He's on Succession too. I can't remember his name. It's making me nuts.
Oh, that's the dork dweeb husband guy.
He's skinny. Yeah. Very old. Yeah. So I forgot his name, but.
Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about, oh my God. You're talking about the kid from Ferris Bueller?
Yeah. Well, Alan Ruck is the kid from Ferris Bueller. Yeah. Yeah, so he was terrific. But there's another guy in the series who was the dad. He was the husband in 6 Feet Under. It was a series that was on HBO years ago. And I went out to him. I was like, "Listen, I just got to tell you, 6 Feet Under was like one of my favorite shows." And he was like, "Bless your heart." We started talking, but it's hard to say if there was someone I would really want to work with. It would be Will Ferrell. If I could do, I mean, come on, that goes without saying. And to me, I'm a big horror movie fan, so
I just can't see him ever doing a horror movie.
No, I can't either. But
I can. Like he kind of pushed his acting to a really nice space when he did. He did an AFC Plus movie with Paul Rudd this past year. Where they started a foundation together. It was a little bit of a hustle and a bustle, but he kind of took the comp. He didn't take himself out, but he took the funny man out of his acting, where it was
Right.
actually more real. And when he's actually like on his shit, he's a fantastic actor.
Oh yeah, well, this is Stranger Than Fiction. Everything Must Go. I mean, you look at those films and they're just phenomenal. You know what I mean? I guess I can kind of get it because I mean, how much comedy can you possibly do after a while? And, come on, you had Anchorman. I mean, Anchorman, the two Anchorman movies were just off the hook. I mean, that to me was the epitome of it. And
Ron Burgundy.
oh my God, just forget it, man. I just, and it's so funny because me and my son watched it the first time, and we get stuck watching it. And Step Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Come on,
No,
what are you kidding?
I still, if it's on, I don't change the channel. I
get stuck every single time. It's impossible not to, but that's what makes it terrific, And for me, like the Ruggieros, when I did that film, that was a comedy, and the woman I was, Roseanne, she, we just clicked. So we were able to kind of improv. The director just let us go, and we had some really hysterical moments. I mean, we laughed. The whole cast. I mean, the crew. We had a great time, and there's moments like that that make it all worthwhile. But definitely, I would love to do a horror movie. I don't know with who, but I would. I would definitely like to work with Nicolas Cage. I find him.
I just watched his most recent movie with a very long title about talent, and I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
he was playing himself as Nick Cage.
Come on, I mean that's.
I did. I watched the whole. I did. I watched the whole
just,
thing.
And Denzel too, man. Like and even I mean, you can go down a list. I mean, forget it. The John Wick films. I mean,
the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yeah. I mean, if that's not self-deprecating, I don't know what is. You know what I mean?
He done it so tastefully, where the movie's actually amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Like at first, when I saw the title, I was like, "Oh my God, are you kidding?" But he caught a lot of shit. There's a movie that he did where he played a detective in Alaska. I can't something below zero, and let me tell you, absolutely phenomenal drama. Like it was a thriller, and nobody ever talks about this film, and I've watched it probably 3 times. Came out early, probably maybe 10, 15 years ago, but I like Nicolas Cage. I can appreciate the self-deprecation because I think that's what makes you human. Because if you can't poke fun at yourself, then there's something wrong. You're taking yourself too seriously, you might as well jump off a fucking bridge because I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? And and listen, I've been accused of narcissism, and it's funny because I guess I am, but actually I don't know if you know who Jordan Peterson is. Yeah. Well, I watched this thing about
he's a psychiatrist from Canada.
Yeah, phenomenal. So he actually brought me to tears because I had watched this thing about narcissism and something else, and it was like, holy shit, that's exactly me, and it was really, he was talking about how narcissism really stems from a lot of tragedy in your life and how you're trying to compensate for it and this and that, but it doesn't mean you're a terrible person. And narcissism is thrown around like it's nothing, but
it's thrown around like racism.
It is. Yes, it is, and that's ridiculous.
How do you know it when you see it? Like, Dr. Brown actually said something like the subject of narcissism was part of like my getting through all that crap.
Yeah, sure.
Because I've been called a narcissist, where I'm like,
yeah.
I've been called so many names and bullied.
Yeah, me too.
Where it's like now I'm actually believing everybody. Yeah. But when Dr. Brene Brown talked momentarily about narcissism, I was actually in a program where I was learning about addictive behavior and how to control it. And one thing we learned about was something known as grandiosity, which is a form of addictive thinking.
Yes.
And the brain is so mysterious, where you have in everything you do on a day-to-day basis a form of addictive thinking. Yeah. One of those things happens to be grandiosity. And I forget the actual definition of it, but when Dr. Brene Brown was talking about it, narcissism, that is, it's actually a mental disorder that actually stems from grandiosity, and which is a deep-rooted form of self-hatred. And that form of self-hatred is basically when you see narcissism it's almost a form of, I hate to say acting because it's not theatrical, but you're literally creating a character on the outside and projecting this persona rooted in hatred of yourself, which is a mental disorder rooted in addiction. And I couldn't believe that. It was cathartic,
that's just mind blowing. That's
to make
really
sense of it.
But yeah, I caught this Jordan Peterson thing, and it was right after I had that relationship with the girl from the movie, and I was like, it blew my mind. It was like I was in tears watching this thing. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this, and it was really kind of a wake up call for me with a lot of things, and it's an ongoing process, like life. You're always learning, but yeah, narcissism is thrown around like the word racism. And, I always ask the question, well, who's winning the racism? It's because it's absurd. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
it's being diluted. I think a lot of terms people don't know. When you accuse somebody of something and you do not absolutely by definition know exactly what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
You're contributing to a much bigger problem because you're actually diluting the real true meaning of a thing, and you're actually carrying in society a belief into other areas where you are actually projecting that same problem. You know?
It's horrible because at the end of the day, everybody really has much more in common than they don't. And that's gotten lost in the shuffle of all this bullshit. And that bothers me.
Wasn't that like the famous line in the Styx Grand Illusion, where
one of my favorite albums? It's Fooling Yourself, a hell of a track. You know what I mean? But why must you be such an angry young man? That whole lot. And that's why for me, music too is it's gotten me through a lot. That album is just start to finish is phenomenal. But music's always music's always gotten me through a lot of difficult times in my life. It's very interesting because there might be something I haven't thought about in 30 years, and I'll hear a song and all of a sudden, boom, this memory pops back in about that moment of listening to that song,
and then you're right there
first time, or some event that I had forgotten all about, and that's the beautiful thing about music. It triggers those memories. And also, I listen to a lot of different bands. I go from classical music, I listen to rap, I listen to country, I listen to classic rock. But I was in the music business, so I was exposed to all kinds of music, so, I'm not one who says, oh, this kind of music sucks or this sucks. I'm open to a lot of different types of music. As a matter of fact, so there's this artist, his name is Ren, R-E-N. Look it up on YouTube. It's a track called Hi Ren, H-I. Look it up on YouTube. The video is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I happened to stumble across the video and I went, wow, what the hell is this? And it was just absolutely mind-blowing. And he has a bunch of tracks, but when we're done, definitely check it out because you're going to be blown away by this video. But he's I've gotten very into him. And then there's an artist, Paul Weller, who used to be in the Jam back in the 80s, and he was in the Style Council and all this stuff, but he has all these solo albums, and his music is phenomenal too. But I'm always
Hi Ren.
Yeah, don't watch it now. You got to wait till we're off.
There's a few different ones, but is his name Ren where the song?
Yeah, Hi Ren, and there's another track called What You Want.
Okay. Yeah.
So those two, you got to watch those two. But Hi Ren
got 10 million views in 4 months.
Dude, let me tell you something. I'm not kidding.
It's a 10-minute song.
Yeah, it's worth it.
All right.
You got to wait till we're off though, because you got to concentrate. And plus, he's English, so it takes a little bit to get used to what he's saying. But let me tell you something. What a piece of artwork that I'm just like, holy shit. I didn't even know what to say about it. And I've turned everybody onto it. I'm like, you got to look at this thing. It's going to blow your mind. He's really, he's doing something unique as far as I'm concerned anyway, but not that I'm some kind of expert. But I've been around music for a long time, but yeah, so music is, it's definitely, and it can make you sad too, because there's a lot of sad memories attached to a lot of songs too, unfortunately. But
I wrote a song, and I get it. I
yeah,
dabbled in a lot of stuff just to kind of like say yes to everything, be creative, figure it out.
you have to, because I never understood people that like, oh, that music sucks. Well, how do you know? Unless you
Yeah.
really delve into it. You know what I mean? It's I never understood that concept. And listen, when I was young, I was guilty of it. To me, it was like Led Zeppelin, and nothing else. But then, I got into Pink Floyd and I got into Kiss. And then I got into classical music, and then I was starting to listen to Tangerine Dream. And, so you kind of get exposed all of a sudden when I got into the music business. I'm listening to reggae, I'm listening to, Neil Diamond and Mariah Carey and this. So, that's it's one of the beautiful things about life, really. Because you have to be open to everything because you don't know what you're missing. That's really what it comes down to. Because there's so much out there, and it's I get up every day now, and that's how I look at things. There's some, and listen, everybody has shitty days. I mean, it's a pain in the ass sometimes, but I'll sit back in the middle of a shitty day and say, hey, you know what? Thank you, universe. Even though it's a shitty day, thank you for letting me have it. It's bad.
Well, then it's like, why is it shitty?
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's like,
what's really so terrible? You know what I mean? What, you're sitting in traffic? Oh, big deal. You know what I mean?
what? Just listen to a shitty song to make it shitty squared, but why?
Right,
Is that
right. It's shitty squared, exactly. And then you go out to dinner and the food sucks. So it's just shitty to the third.
to the third power?
But it's this we have a lot to be thankful for in this life. We really do. And I
Sure.
think people have kind of lost that appreciation for simple things, and that's really what it comes down to for me anyway. I mean, and I'll tell you a funny thing, like my son is going to be 22, and all his friends call me dad, you know what I mean? He'll be out somewhere he'll pick up the phone when I call him. Love you, Dad. I mean, he tells me all the time. And it's funny because I have my best friend. He's like, oh, you'll wait and see when your son gets older. He's not going to want to know you, and he's not going to tell you he loves you. And it's never changed. You know what I mean? With him and I. And I'm so thankful for that. You know what I mean? To me, it means the world. It really does. And he's got a lot of good words of wisdom every now and then too, especially if I'm doing something stupid.
But that's actually how I usually wrap up every show, with words of wisdom, because when I was first starting out, I was reading a book called The Right Words at the Right Time. I went through the book a lot in between rehearsals or off stage, just to kind of like occupy my time. And I'm not a big reader, but I really like the short stories, especially from celebrities, and the right words at the right time. It got my interest, and
I'm gonna have to look that up.
it's a great book, and it's a collection of short interviews from I believe it's Marcy Thomas or Thompson, and she just has a collective of like maybe over 100 interviews of celebrities, athletes, politicians, like something that, the words of wisdom that carried them to that point that never left them. And my curiosity is for you, Joey, was there ever was there any advice that you've gotten, or any advice that you would give that would actually be or have been the right words at the right time?
Well, I'd say two things. When you find the love of your life, don't let her go, or him, whatever, however it works out. And the second thing I would say is you absolutely have to do what you love, and you have to persevere. In the dark, and in the darkest moments, those are the best moments, because when you get out of it, you can look back and say, holy shit, I survived. And that's all it is, man. It's really, life isn't really all that difficult. We make it difficult. We do. We make it very difficult for ourselves. And there's tons of reasons why. I mean, there's outside influences, there's choices that you make, stupid choices you make, but yeah, you gotta embrace the darkness. You really do, because that's the only way you get to the light at the end of the tunnel.
You're absolutely right.
And that's it. And it just makes, and if you can listen, at the end of the day, if you can sit back and laugh about things,
sure.
There's things I still cry about. And but that's it, like the old the comedy and tragedy masks, like I don't have any tattoos, but I was like, that's the tattoo I want, because that's what life is. It's comedy and tragedy. So you have to embrace it. That's it. You know what I mean? You have to, because what other choice do you have? Well, you have another choice, but that's really not the route to go. I think you're shortchanging yourself if I feel for people that want to commit suicide. Listen, I've been down there, and I'm sure we all have, but you can't give up like that. It's unfair to the people around you, and it's unfair to yourself, because if you cut yourself short, you don't know what you could be. You'll never find out, and to me, I think it's about you got to fight your way through. You really do. And I wish there was a better way to help people that are suicidal, but that's just a whole difficult situation. It really is. It's very strange, and then you gotta have some balls to do it. You really do. I mean, that to me I just don't get it. I don't personally, but people give up, and that's the whole thing. You can't give up, man. You can never give up. It's well, not that this is related, but you said you had to put your dog down during the pandemic. Well, I had a cat, my buddy, for like 13 years, and I just had to put him down this past Friday, and it was horrific. You know what I mean? I have 5 other cats, but the thing with animals is they're like mini tragedies. Because it wouldn't be so bad if they can live as long as we do. You know what I mean? Because then it's like, okay, when you're 30, 50, whatever, okay. But, they have such a short lifespan, but you learn so much from them because they give you so much love. You know what I mean? And it's funny because people are like, oh, cats. Well, you know what? My cats, they come to the door when you get home. They're always hanging. They want to play. They want to do this. They'll come up and like just lay on you for no reason, And I learned a long time ago. I've read a lot of books about like Egyptian stuff, and they talk about how cats are protectors of the soul, and I truly believe that. I really.
Yeah, that was the nicest thing I've heard about cats forever, man. That is so true.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I love dogs. I love animals. You know what I mean? And but I've always had this affinity with cats, and But I can pet any dog. I mean, dogs, animals have always been cool with me. Because I don't know. It's just what it is. You know what I mean? And people, my neighbor used to laugh when I was a kid because like stray cats would come down the street and I'd be like, hey, come here. They come right up to me. My neighbor woman, she'd be like, Joey, I can't believe that cat just came up to you. Like the cat doesn't come over to anyone. And it's always been that way. You know what I mean? But yeah, so really at the end of the day, you got to love life, man. You got to love the struggles. You got to love the horrible moments, you got to love the horrible moments. I think even more to really appreciate the good ones.
Amen, dude. Absolutely. Yo, I can't wait to have you back on the podcast again.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I'll keep you posted.
I want to see. I would love to actually let us know. I'll tell the club. We'll probably, if we can, come and support, watch a play.
I definitely will, dude. It's so funny because I was trying to get to you when you first hit me up for an audition, and I had so much going on, I couldn't go. And I was so disappointed, but, and then you sent this thing out and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe it. So I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity. And, because I believe in what you're doing, man. It's, we're going to do something together, and, we're going to stay in touch. There's no two ways about that.
Join the club because
I'm going to.
We got almost 900 people now in the Facebook group. We got like 3 or 4 dozen in the private chamber where it's eyes only in the private backdoor room digitally on our club. So there's a lot of projects on the table, and I know the money's on its way, and we're going to take them one show at a time and just
that's all you can do, man. But yeah, I'm definitely going to join, believe me. And I appreciate the time to get and hang out and finally talk to you face to face.
It's fine, but no, you got my info. If ever you want to connect, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, listen, absolutely. And again, I appreciate everything, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Well, on that note, Joe, you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too, bro.
That audition.
All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Ciao for now.
Yeah, be well.